just believe me when I tell you that it is so easy to go from this to this. The first mistake that you see me make is using this cheap A4 paper. As you can see, it's so thin, so it's not designed to hold in all the color pencil layers. The next common mistake that I do is I'm going to draw my sketch super dark, so that's going to be so hard for me to erase. And on the other end, I'm not touching my eraser at all. I'm trying to draw everything in one stroke or in one single go. The most common mistake that everyone does when it comes to color pencil is using a blunt pencil, and this blunt pencil is not going to fill out the grains of the paper, and also you're going to get a very streaky finish. You can also see that I'm only using two colors for the leaf, a light green and a dark green, and I'm not taking advantage of all the colors that is available to me in the color pencil set. In addition to that, I'm putting lots of pressure to my pencil and I'm just blocking in all the colors in one single go or in the first layer itself, and I'm not thinking about layering at all. For the flower also, I'm putting in lots of pressure to my pencil and I'm blocking in all the colors in one single go. I'm not layering anything and I'm not considering the shadows that I can see in the petals. And for the shadows, I'm using grey, which does not look like shadows. This is exactly how you should never draw anything with your color pencils, especially flowers, and I know I've exaggerated everything a bit, but let's start over, shall we? Now to start everything right, I'm going to use the right paper for my drawing, and this one is by Brustro, and this is the drawing paper that is actually meant for color pencils, so it has lots of texture in it and also it's quite thick so that it can hold on to all those color pencil layers. As for the sketching, as you can see, I'm using the same pencil, but I'm just putting a lot less pressure and I'm going to draw everything super light. I'm not rushing my sketching process at all. I'm taking all the time that I need to draw a very accurate sketch because that's quite important for any drawing. I'm also including every single detail that I can see in my reference in my sketch itself. This is the finished sketch. As you can see, it's very detailed and also it's super light. Now to make this sketch even lighter, I'm going to use an kneadable eraser, and this is going to pick up all the excess graphite and leave you with a very nice and light sketch. Now for my color pencils, I'm using a white color from the black and white set by Derwent Academy. This is of artist quality, and I'm going to use this and I'm going to block in all the highlights that I can see in my reference image. What it basically does is that it's going to block that particular area so that you won't be able to add any more color pencils on top of that. And I've explained a little bit more about this in this video, so if you want, you can go check that out. Now for the color pencils, I'm using this Derwent Academy 12 color pencil set, and it's very affordable, and I'll leave a link to the review in the description box down below. As for the color pencil layer, I'm starting with a very light layer, as you can see. The flower was actually very light, so to get that kind of a color, I'm not adding any pressure to my pencil. I'm shading everything very lightly, and also I'm mixing in lots of colors. I'm adding yellow, orange, pink, and in some places I'm also using red, and all the colors that I've used in this video will be listed in the description box, so if you want, you can check that out. As you can see, since I've added white to the highlighted areas, that area is staying lighter than the rest of it because it cannot accept any new layers of color pencils. The best way to draw a flower is to approach it petal by petal. Finish one petal and then move on to the next one. If you just color everything and then work on your highlights and shadows, then it's going to be a lot more confusing. So it's always better to finish one petal at a time. Another important thing that you have to make sure is that your pencil stays sharp for as long as possible. Because a sharp pencil will help you to get into the texture of the paper, and it's going to fill out the grains of the paper much better than a blunt pencil. Since I'm only using 12 color pencil set, I don't have a lot of options to choose from, so I'm layering lots of different colors on top of each other to get the right color that I want. So it will be quite grainy, but we can take care of it in just a minute. Once you're done layering all the different colors that you want, you can take your white pencil and then go over the entire drawing, and this is going to blend out all the different colors together, and also it's going to get rid of some of that graininess. You can also use a blender pencil like this one. This one is by the brand Staedtler, and I'm doing the same thing again. I'm just going over the color pencil layer with this pencil, and as you can see, it's getting rid of that graininess. Once you're done with your initial blending, you have to go in again with your color pencils and saturate the colors because it will make your colors a bit dull. So you need to saturate them again and you have to work on the contrast from this layer onwards. Since I have limited colors, I'm using black for the contrast as well, and for some highlights, I'm also using this stick eraser. This one is by Tombow, and I'll leave a list of all the materials that I used in this video in the description box down below, so feel free to check that out. Once I'm done with the flower, I'm going to move on to the rest of the drawing, and that is the reason why I did the flower first. To me, flowers are quite hard to draw because there are lots of details in them and lots of color shadings. So I want to finish that first and then move on to the rest of the drawing. And also, if I draw everything underneath that flower, for example the leaf and the vase, etc., then I have to lay my hand on top of the drawing and it's going to make the drawing muddy, and I don't want that. One thing you need to understand is where the light source is coming from. You need to study your reference and find out where the light source is. And in this reference that I used, the light source was from the top right side, so the shadows normally fell on the left side of the flower. The main reason why you should take note of the light's direction is because it's going to give that object its shape. For example, if you're going to keep a box in a very dark room, then you can't see the box at all because there's no light in it, so there won't be any definition at all. But instead, if you keep that same box in a well-lit room, then you can see a lot more definition, lot more shadows and highlights. For the leaf, I'm using lots of different colors. I'm not only using light green, dark green and yellow. I'm actually using light green, dark green, black, brown and orange. In some places, I'm also using red. And that is because I have a very limited color pencil set. So I need to take advantage of all the colors that I have. And also I can only mix the colors that I want by layering. If you notice, I'm using lots of black in this particular drawing, and that's because there were lots of darker colors in this reference image, and also I want a really good contrast, and the best way to do that is by using black color pencil to bring up the difference between the lightest color and the darkest color to a much more noticeable extent. But you need to be careful with black because it can quickly ruin your drawing and make it look much more unrealistic, so be careful with black. Just like I did for the flower, I'm going to use white color pencil and I'm going to block in the highlight that I can see in the leaf, and that highlight usually tends to be the veins of the leaf, so you need a very sharp pencil for that. As I lay a lot more colors, you can clearly see two separate lines, the highlights that I just added with the white pencil. Those lines are going to remain lighter than the rest of the area. This technique is definitely helpful for even the minute details for your drawing. I'm going to do the same thing for these leaves as well, and you're going to see how effective this technique is when it comes to preserving the highlights. For even more minute details and minute highlights, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and I'm going to scrape off the top layer of color pencils, and it is going to reveal the white of the paper underneath, and that's going to give you some amazing minute highlights. Once you're done with this, you need to go over with another color just to make that highlight look much more natural. For the stem inside that bottle, you need to keep one thing in mind. If that bottle is filled with water, like in this case, then that part of the stem is going to look much more magnified, and also the colors will be totally different. It might be a little bit more saturated and much more lighter than the rest of the stem. So you need to pay a close attention to your reference and take note of all the different colors that you can see. Now for the glass bottle, I'm using black color, but I'm using very light pressure and I'm layering everything very lightly, and also I'll be using a lot more different colors like blue and brown. In some areas I'll also use orange, and then finally I'll burnish everything with white. Sometimes when you use a limited color pencil set like I did, then your drawing will look a little bit grainy, a little bit streaky, but that's fine with me. Now for the brightest highlights, I'm going to use a white gel pen. This one is by the Uniball and this is the Sigma white gel pen, and I'm using it only for the brightest areas. Finally, the best way to draw the shadows is by using a graphite pencil, and I'm using a 6B graphite pencil, and I'm going to add a little bit of graphite underneath that bottle, and I'm going to blend everything with tissue paper, and I'm going to work in layers. Once this is done, I'm going to layer again with the same graphite and blend everything, and if I want any highlights in some places, then I will use a stick eraser. And that's it. That's how simple it is to draw a realistic looking flower in a vase, and I hope you liked today's video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye everybody, take care.